You're on. We're recording.
Great. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of McCandless reconvened meeting to conduct candidate interviews to fill positions for the Environmental Advisory Committee as well as the Northland Library Authority. All right, we have our first applicant today is Phil.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Phil. How are you? Are we
Fine.
waiting for a video for you, or are you just?
Oh, let's see. Oh, wait. Let's
okay.
see. Oops, my screen went away. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, it just says Zoom on here now. Let's see what happened.
There should be at the bottom of, there should be a prompt to tell you to
Nope.
start video.
It doesn't have anything. It just says Zoom. I lost all the pictures here.
Okay.
Should I reconnect here? Can you give me a minute to do that?
If we can reconnect. We can do it. We can do your interview like this. Some people just call in by phone, but we'll
Okay.
but
All right,
I mean,
I'll do this. I don't want to mess things up.
Okay.
I don't know where the picture went. I've only used the Zoom a few times here. We usually use WebEx at work.
We're just all trying to get through it, Phil. We understand.
Okay.
So the way this works is we have your application, we have the information that you provided for us, and we've read that. And so if there's something new or something you want to add, you can certainly do that now. But otherwise, we just go around and each council member asks you whatever question that they would like to ask you. And then that's really it. We're going to do the appointments this evening, so you don't even have to wait very long. So that's nice.
Okay.
So
yeah, I know Marie asked for a resume. I mean, I didn't have one. I've been at BNY Mellon for 25 years. I probably haven't. I don't have a current resume. So whatever I put into the application is my current, currently what I'm doing and my hobbies or whatever else I put in there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Phil. Carolyn, will you start us off?
So, hi, Phil. Can you please tell me, what do you think with, if you were on the EAC, what would you like to see change, improve, if you were on the committee?
Okay, I've mentioned this last time I interviewed, and okay, I live off of Cumberland Road down near McCandless Crossing, and at the time, a lot of homeowners were not real happy with it, with the development and with communication with the town council and stuff like that. But I think after it got built, I think people started to be okay with. But I think one of the biggest gripes that people have is the animal population has emails. I've had questions or people that seen my name there, and so I guess it would be that, and perhaps through the school system or something like that, community service projects, perhaps, with planting trees or something. Is that dog asking me another question?
I think so. David, are you finished?
Yep, I'm all good. Thank you.
All right. I don't have any questions for you, Phil. Thank you. We appreciate you reapplying, and good luck to you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Our next applicant is Jess Smith Amara. Hi, Jess.
Hi there, you got it, Smith Amara.
Oh, good. I'm so bad at that, so I'm glad to finally get one. Hi.
I answered Smith too.
Okay. Okay. So the way we do this is we have your application, the material that you submitted to us, and we have looked at that. And if there's something additional that you'd like to add, you can do that. Otherwise, council will just go around and ask you questions.
Sounds good. I do have two quick updates in terms of what I submitted that are just recent changes. So the first on my resume, I had indicated that I was in a climate change and health certificate program, and I did complete that program and was awarded the certificate. And then the second update, I recently passed my CPHQ, so I'm a certified professional in healthcare quality.
Great, thank you. Thank you for those updates. All right, we'll get started with our questions. Carolyn?
Okay. Hi, Jess. This is Carolyn from Ward 6, and I was going to say congrats on your certificate in the climate change and health. And actually, could you please tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it is a great program. I cannot recommend it enough. So it's offered through Yale School of Public Health. It's an 18-week online certificate program. It's both synchronous and asynchronous learning, and they split it up into three accelerated courses. So the first is just a course on climate change science. The second is a course on the impact of climate change on health. So the student audience was pretty mixed. It's about 50% healthcare professionals and probably the other half folks working with environmental planning. Gets geared towards the impact of climate change on health and also how to mitigate that. And then the third course in that program was about climate change communication.
Awesome. So is there anything
a little
that
cost?
Huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carolyn.
No, what were you saying?
Just great program. The only drawback is that it's a little pricey, a little cost prohibitive. The information that they teach is so great. I wish it was just free and open to the public, but great program.
Sure. So after all that, what would you like to add or bring to the table for our EAC?
So my background's in nursing, and I've always been really passionate about the connection between health and the environment, especially in our vulnerable populations. So I think I have a pretty unique background and skill set just at that intersection of health, the environment, my work in quality improvement. So I have some technical expertise in process improvement, in project management, and my role now, I'm the manager of quality community engagement. So I do a lot of community work across the state. And what I would like to add to EAC is a little more of the engagement piece. So engaging the community, and I think I can lend some expertise there.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Tricia?
Hi there, this is Trish Clunan, and thank you for joining us, Jessica, this evening, and congratulations as well on your recent certificate earned. I'm very excited to see your work and the thought of you engaging with some of the more vulnerable populations. McCandless right now has several senior living facilities and care facilities. And I'm curious if there's certain projects or any ideas you might have in working with these populations through the EAC to enhance their lives while they're living here in McCandless.
Oh, sure. Okay. So in my professional work, I do work with the elderly population a bit, trying to tie that back to kind of environmental work and intersection of environment and health. A big risk factor for older adults is heat and, just what resources are available to them. A big concern for us this year in my work in the managed care space is, right now we've got a global pandemic. We have, elderly folks who maybe normally would be checked in on by family members. Maybe they're not getting that, those kind of check-ins. Do they have air conditioning? So if you're talking about actually facilities, I still think, even though there are of course resources there through the facility to support kind of that vulnerable population, Number one, it could be a population that we could tap into that might have interest in doing some environmental work. And two, I think it's still worth the check-in on their kind of live space, their environment, even though they are in a facility. So what do those facilities look like? Do they have an opportunity to work with EAC and maybe work with their elderly populations to do, sustainability initiatives? That's kind of off the cuff, but just a couple thoughts on that population kind of in general.
Thank you. I like the idea too, because many of our seniors in our community are very active and very engaged, and I'd love to, continue to engage them and possibly, help other people in the community as well. So thank you.
Mike?
Jess, your resume is incredibly impressive. Thank you for volunteering. I don't have any questions, Kim. I just wanted to express that, Jess.
Thank you, Mike. Angela?
Hi, Jess. Thank you for interviewing with us tonight. I appreciate it and your interest in volunteering. You answered a lot of my questions. I just wanted to mention, when I read the minutes, I see that you are a frequent attendee at the current EAC meetings. Your name comes up a lot. So having been there several times, I wonder if you have any feedback on what's currently going on at the EAC on any of the programming that they're doing.
I've been really impressed by kind of the breadth of projects that the EAC has worked on in really kind of a short period of time. I have had a recurring thought a couple of times that I've dialed in just related to volunteering and finding volunteer opportunities. And I think one session I dialed into, I think a member of the public had actually asked that. And I found myself thinking, that's interesting, because the reason I found the EAC through the Town of McCandless website was I was looking for volunteer opportunities. And I feel like there's so much out there, but not necessarily I'm gonna say dummy proof, but just really streamlined way to say, I wanna serve my community. I'm gonna go to the Town of McCandless website and click, a volunteer button. So I feel like the, volunteer engagement, I don't want to say issue, but topic has come up a couple of times in those sessions. And that's something that I've left those sessions thinking about, how can we get folks more involved? Because I feel like if people knew some of these things were out there, and a lot of people do, but for the folks that don't, there really may be some interest there. People tend to get pretty passionate about the environment, but don't always know how to get involved.
Okay, thank you.
Shelley?
Hi, Jess. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. So first, I'd like to echo that you have an incredibly impressive resume. And I wanted to also thank you for dialing into the EAC meetings. A lot of people who are interested in volunteering say they are, but just don't take the time to do something like that on a weeknight. So thank you for that. And really, my questions were also asked, but I do have to say that I really liked that you, it sounds like you have a lot of skill sets related to engagement and, combining health and the EAC and the ability to communicate, engage, and yes, volunteerism is something that the EAC could use desperately to do more things, but we have been having a hard time. So thank you for bringing those things out and thinking of them ahead of time. They were good call outs. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to add, we keep talking about volunteering and serving, and I have to mention this. My husband is a volunteer firefighter with Ingomar Fire Department, and it's kind of cheesy, but every year on January 1st, I kind of reflect on the previous year and maybe what I didn't do and what I did accomplish. And what really stuck out to me this year is I do a lot of community work for work, but I want to do community work and serve, in my personal life. My husband has served for a couple of years. He loves it, and I've been a little jealous. So I was glad to find some of the town of McCandless resources for getting involved.
Are you finished, Shelley? Any more
Yes,
questions?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David?
Hi, Jess. David Smith. How are you?
Good. How are you? Welcome.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations on, it sounds like a couple of recent accomplishments. So you should be very proud of that. And that's awesome. So my question to you is, you touched on it a couple times with community engagement. And I know that you have attended some of the EAC meetings. Is there anything that jumps out at you? Like, is there something when you were there that you said, oh, if I was on the committee, I'd say this, or anything like that? And if it is, I want to give you the chance to say it now.
Just back to engagement, I think there are a couple of kind of specific populations that I think about during some of these EAC sessions. So I know that the town of McCandless works with North Allegheny. And I know the EAC specifically, I think, has worked with Northland Public Library. But I just think the student body at North Allegheny potentially could really be mobilized for some EAC initiatives. That's the first thought. And then second is a little biased perspective, but just healthcare and folks that work in healthcare. We are so saturated, luckily, in our area with healthcare, facilities and personnel. And my take, again, a little biased, is that folks that work in healthcare do understand that intersection of environment and health, and maybe are an additional kind of untapped population for EAC.
Excellent. And, as unique as our last names are, I just want to point out that we are not at least known to be related. So just stating that for the record. But thank you very much. And yeah, just to echo everyone else, you have a great resume, and congratulations on your accomplishment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess. We appreciate you applying, and we'll be voting later this evening.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me, for your time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Jess.
Bye-bye.
So those are the end of the EAC applicants, and the next applicants that we'll be doing, the last two tonight, will be library applicants. So Sarah Bernstein.
Hello.
Hello. So welcome, Sarah. We have your application and information that you sent us, which we have looked over. And if you have anything that you need to update, then please feel free to do that. Otherwise, we'll just go around council and everyone will ask their questions.
Okay, that's great with me. I have nothing else to add to that as of this point, so.
All right, sounds good. Carolyn?
Thank you for applying. I was wondering if you have any ideas of how you'd want to grow the future of the library.
That's hard to say at this point. I'm not immersed in the library. Just a tiny backstory. Feeding off of my resume is I was a working mom up until about 6 months ago when I left my job at the beginning of COVID when it hit, to stay home and help my children through school. I'm planning on staying home through this school year, and that leaves me with some extra time and some time that I want to use for me and to volunteer. So as far as my knowledge of what has been going on in the library before that, taking the kids to the library and staying on top of the events and programs that have been going on is great. But the inner workings is not something that I'm familiar with beyond reading the Northland Public Library emails. I would definitely look to be fitting some holes. Every organization, every committee out there has holes, right? The things that someone is just not passionate about, or someone just doesn't want to do. And that tends to be in my workplace, where I find my niche, you know, I find those holes and look to get involved. So whether that is community involvement, whether that is bringing online programming to the elderly. I have a soft spot in my heart for working with the elderly or those that can't actually physically get to the library for reading materials or maybe have trouble reading. Those are things in the past that I've found get just moved by the wayside in the places that I've been, and have really been able to step in and find some resources, find some solutions for those problems where the library is concerned. So that's what I'd be looking to do. I don't have a preset agenda. I don't have an idea or a plan to bring to you right now, and that might seem feeble, but I'm looking to fill the empty spots.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Tricia?
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us this evening. You know, as a council, I think we all unanimously always want to do what we can to support our library. But unfortunately, you know, sometimes it just doesn't add up. There's always a need for more. As a resident and community member and library user, do you have any ideas on how to get our residents invested in the library, whether whether financial or more volunteer hours, or to make the things happen and the programs happen that we'd like to see?
Right. And that's a great thought and something that deserves to be looked at. It seems to me when I go to the library, there's always a need for more volunteers. And there are people out there with maybe an hour here, an hour there, or, you know, the ability to volunteer. And engaging those people, bringing it to those people is, you know, something that I think can be looked at to soften some of the costs of running the library. As far as funding, absolutely, that everyone needs money. All committees need more money. And the more you have, the more you need, right? But I know, again, soft spot in my heart, I am really mourning the loss of the book sale, and that we didn't have this past year, and who knows if we'll be able to have, you know, moving into the fall. So obviously those funds need to be recouped in some way. And again, I don't have a specific plan, not having met or talked to anybody else on the committee to know what ideas have been thrown out there. But I believe that there are different ways to investigate if they haven't already been talked about. You know, online classes. I'm a big fan of Zoom classes and online classes. And my background is in health, and particularly brain health. And I've taught several online classes. So, you know, there might be some things for smaller fees to meet people where they're at that could help the library investigate some new ways to bring some funds in.
Great, thank you. I think we just need to keep our eyes open because we don't want to lose this valuable resource we have.
Absolutely.
And I agree with you. Thank you.
Mike?
Sarah, thanks for joining us.
Thank
I
you.
guess I'll sort of jump off of Tricia's point, but I'll take it in a different way. You've been to many libraries, I'm sure.
Mhm.
So, you know, the internet in our time has disrupted the music industry, the travel industry, the shopping industry, and it's probably close to disrupting away the libraries. Like, so have you seen any other libraries, or do you have any ideas on how to make it more modern, more relevant, and reinvent it for younger kids that really walk around with their phone?
That's a really good thought. And as the mom of a 13-year-old who does just that, he's got the headset now and, you know, walks around with his face on the screen. There definitely needs to be changing mindset, and sometimes that's hard. Even for me, who I love change, you know, to think about the way we approach the kiddos, if you will, or those that are younger than us, because they don't see things the way we do. Modernizing the library, sometimes I think that just means aesthetics. And as simple as that might sound, I know that when I walk into, or in the past have walked into the library, my kiddos have been the first ones to notice new things on the wall, new displays, and particularly in the entrance to the children's and teen area there, and how the new reading selections are presented. And I say to my husband all the time, it's all in the marketing of it. And he and I, before kids, owned a small marketing boutique in which we became quite skilled at just twisting the way that you saw things. And I think that's so important, to reinvent what has been there for years and years and years and worked. I mean, libraries have always been there, and it might need a new facelift. And that's what I'd like to see, for it to continue on, and particularly one that is in my community and means a lot to me and the kiddos, to draw in that younger generation and have them fall in love with it, just like I always have.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sure.
Angela?
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for interviewing with us this evening. On your application, you invited us to check out your LinkedIn profile, which I did. And so just was wondering, how do you think that your background and talents suit you for this position?
Thank you. That was my fearful question, because when you look at that, I have a background in health and I've done a lot of teaching. So why the library? And I can't really give you a good answer other than I'm willing and I'm passionate about the library. It is something that I consider a fun place to be, a relaxing place to be, a home place to be. And I want to bring that passion to others. As far as how my background in life, career-wise, the health, the teaching piece of it fits in, that part remains to be seen. I'm here to offer all of my talents, all of my expertise, and if there's a place for brain health, if there's a place for, teaching CPR, which I have done, then let it be. Let's find where those holes are, where, my backgrounds can be beneficial.
Yeah, I think these things work well when people with a variety of backgrounds come to the table and help out. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Kelly?
How are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
So again, my questions were asked, but I'll ask you this. As a willing potential volunteer, but a user, both you and your family, it sounds like, what in your experience do you think is our library's biggest strength, and how could you see, and what efforts, if any, could you see using to leverage that?
I don't have to think too long before the answer comes to mind. And you're right, I have been to different libraries. I grew up going to my community library at home. I visit the community library where my mom still lives. We've lived in a couple other communities in the Pittsburgh area. And from the first time that I walked into Northland Public Library, I loved the people that worked there. There was always a smiling face, always somebody to help if needed, and there was always somebody with a cheerful comment. I can't say enough about the volunteers and the staff that work there, that you know, they're all part of what makes the library so good. And I think for those of us who have used or do use the library frequently, they would say the same thing. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about an encounter they've had in the library. And even when some rules have changed or some locations have changed in the past, and we all know that that tends to upset some certain people, you know, when things change, it's handled with a lot of grace, and I appreciate that. So I think that is a really strong point of the library. I know I've heard from people that work there that they consider it a fairly small library and have a fairly small selection. So to get out of that mentality of being a small library, you know, that's where we can just change the rhetoric. And there might be a smaller number of books on the shelf than, let's say, down in Oakland. However, we're all still part of the Allegheny County Library system. So therefore, it really is a big library with, you know, the heart of a small library. And I think that's important to get across to people, is that they're not limited by a small number of books on the shelf.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
David?
I thank you for interviewing. I think you've answered all the questions that I had, but I've been listening to all your answers and like them, and you know, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you putting forth your application and volunteering, and we will be we won't be voting on your appointment tonight. We have some other interviews at our next meeting. So I'm guessing in our next meeting in September is when we'll do our selection.
Okay, great.
All right?
Thank you
All
all
right.
for having me. Have a great night.
Thank you. You
Sarah.
did the
Thank
same.
you.
Bye,
You too.
Sarah.
Bye.
Our last applicant today and second for the library position is Susan Fair.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, are you seeing me?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Ah, curses.
That happened to Phil too, same thing.
Oh, hold it. Host has asked you to start your video. Start my video. Oh, I knew I should not have done this on my husband's computer. Oh. One sec. Give me one more try.
All right. And you don't lose points if we can't see you.
Oh, there I am. Hello.
There you are. Nice, very nice to see you. So I give everyone the same spiel just so we're all on the same page. And that is that we have your application and the information that you sent us, and we've looked over that material. And if you need to update anything, you can certainly do that at this time. Otherwise, we'll go around council and we'll each ask you whatever questions that we have.
I guess the only thing I would say to that is and I'm sure if you reviewed it, you see that library work is not on there very much, because I recently retired from healthcare, and that's where most of my energies, that and my family are where my energies have been absorbed. So, but having said that, sure, whatever you would like to ask me.
Terrific, thank you. Carolyn, will you start us off, please?
Sure. Hi, thank you, and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
So I wanted to know, do you have any ideas of how you would like to, or that we could grow the future for the library? Whether new programs, volunteers?
Well, I have spent a great deal of time in libraries over my personal and professional career. And I think that in this time, you know, currently everything's in so much upheaval that we probably need to outreach to the community to see what the needs are. And I think a big part of that, because I know McCandless has a fairly large older population, is getting people comfortable with using the online services. You know, it's been very difficult not to be able to go to the library and get the book that you want. And I know you just recently reopened, so I'm happy about that. But I think that's it, engaging that group, engaging kids in coming in. You know, again, I think we have to reach out to the community and see what they need.
Great, thank you.
Trish?
Hi, Susan. Thanks for joining us. This is Trish here. I kind of what you just said, engaging the community. I think we all get very comfortable and just a little bit complacent, thinking that the library is always going to be there for us. So I kind of the same question I asked Ms. Bernstein is, do you have any thoughts on how our residents, our community can be more invested, whether it means volunteer hours or possibly, you know, financially, because we need to think about the future of our library and to keep it strong.
Sure. I will honestly say that financial development is not my area of expertise. I would certainly be willing to learn. And I think that people often think that, or, you know, don't know all the things that the library does. I think that's a big issue. They think it's just someplace where you go to get a book, and there's so much more to offer. Before we moved back to Pittsburgh, we moved around to Fairmont, and that was one of the first things we did was get a library card at the local library because of the programs for kids, ways to meet people. So I think, you know, maybe we have to promote all the things that the library does, not just books.
Right. I agree. Thank you.
Sure.
Mike?
Susan, incredibly impressive resume. Thanks for interviewing. I was just impressed with all of our applicants tonight. Mine is a similar question that others have asked. You know, with the advent of the internet years ago, it's transformed the music industry, the travel industry, shopping, etc. You know, how can we sort of modernize it, make it relevant for the next generation, reinvent it so it's still there for the next generation?
Reinvent the library. It's interesting that you say that, because when I started my master's degree, I was still Xeroxing articles that I was pulling from the shelves. So I think that, yeah, the next generation probably doesn't even know what a Xerox machine is. You know, I think one way to do it, because we don't know that much about what kids want, is to get kids involved. And, you know, maybe doing some focus groups in the schools once that gets back back together. Finding out, you know, what do they think is important, because that's part of it. You know, you need to be able to market to them, and marketing to them is tough because they're so savvy, I think, in many ways. But I think you got to engage the people that are, you have to engage the users, you have to engage the community. So, you know, I certainly don't have a plan, but I think that's a good place to start.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Angela?
Hi, Susan. Thank you for interviewing with us tonight. I'm also impressed with your resume, and I love that we have so many people with healthcare backgrounds applying for these positions tonight. So
yes, shockingly relevant.
So I'll ask you the same question I asked the previous applicant, which is, how do you think that your background and talents suit you for this position?
I have done a lot of outreach in my job. I've done a lot of community work, community health work, I would say. And again, a big part of what we used to do with that was, you know, trying to get them through the door is the big step to get them out there. I've done a lot of teaching. I enjoy engaging with students. I enjoy engaging with other people. And I feel like, although I do not have background in library life, my very first job was in the library when I was in high school. And I've been attached to them ever since. So I think that I can bring a different perspective. I would say, for me, I spent more time in academic libraries in the last half of my life than I did in the community libraries. But, you know, it's a crucial source for the community, and we cannot lose that.
Okay, thank you.
Shelley?
Hi, Susan. I also wanted to compliment you on your resume. It sounds like you've done a lot of interesting, fascinating things.
And now I have free time.
Well, I'm in the same place. Look
Yeah.
at me. My questions were answered. I just want to thank you for applying and being interested in volunteering for our community.
I'm interested in giving a little bit back at this point in my life, and I think I can do it.
Thank you.
Sure.
David?
Hi, Susan. Thank you for interviewing. My question is, what are some of the things that you would like to see highlighted more and communicated to residents more about what the library does and what, what their interaction with it can be?
I think that the community programs are really good to get people through the door. Education program, or health education, book clubs, that kind of thing. Where to go to get something when you need it. Librarians are your best source for information ever. I've known them all my lives, and that's their thing. And I think having a friendly staff is a big thing, and it's a non-judgmental space. You can ask for things. That is part of your right to ask for the information that you need, right? And I'm not sure that everybody realizes that how many things the library can do for you. It's not just the place to take out a bestseller. So I think that, however you disseminate information, and I will freely admit, I don't know much about how that works, but I think that you could probably step it up to engage other pieces of the community that aren't necessarily engaged.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. You answered all my other questions, but thank you again.
Okay, thanks.
Susan, thank you for your dedication and hard work on women's health. I salute you.
I'll be happy to provide that education for anybody.
I salute you for that. I thank you for applying, and hopefully we'll make a decision on this in September. All right.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If we can have a motion to adjourn the reconvene meeting, and then we can head on over to our regular meeting for tonight. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay. That's Angela and Shelley. Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Meeting is adjourned, and we'll catch you on the other Zoom meeting. All right. Thanks.